Hello there, collectors, hobbyists, sports fans, and those that can appreciate the finer things in life. And welcome to the closing show for our Winter Platinum Night auction. I'm Mike Provenzale, the production manager at Heritage Sports. And joining me right over there, the most beloved, bear-huggingest guy in the industry, Mr. Tony Giese. Tony, how are you doing this evening?
Beloved? I don't know if I'm really beloved, though.
You are.
I think they put up with me is about probably what it is. But no, yeah, great. Amazing auction. I can't wait to talk about all these items that we have in this sale. And my goodness, it's quite the collection of material we have in this one.
One of the finest sales we've ever put together. It's always exciting to see the whole process through, the material coming in, getting it authenticated, putting the catalog together, launching the sale, doing shows and previews. And then we come to tonight. Tonight's session 1 is closing, which is the first 150 so lots. Extended bidding begins at 10 p.m. Central Time. So you've got 2 hours to get your bids in for everything in session 1. Session 2 is the remainder of the sale. That will be tomorrow night. Same situation. Extended bidding begins at 10 p.m. Central Time. And there are so many things to talk about. And I'm happy to say we have a very special guest who will be joining us shortly. I know a lot of people wanted it to be Rob Rosen, but unfortunately, he is not going to be able to make it tonight. He's on the treadmill all evening. His new fitness kick. So we're just going to have to make do with a replacement that I'm sure everybody will enjoy. Tony.
I did see Rob for the first time in a few months, and I was amazed. He is in fantastic shape right now. He could run a marathon if he had to.
Yeah, it's amazing that someone at his age can even get up to the speed and run that he does. But he told me he was around when jogging was invented. So he's one of the originators, and he's sticking with it. So kudos to him.
He has a glow to him now. I saw him last weekend, and he has a glow to him. He looks great. He's here. We're ready to go.
Same old Musk that we have always loved, though. But back to the auction. Just some incredible stories, some iconic items, some great backgrounds. So we're going to be talking about it all night as we get closer to extended bidding. And we'll tell you about some of the headline items, some of our favorites, some things that need some more attention. It's a huge sale with a lot in it. Tony, what are you feeling tonight?
I mean, it's just unbelievable, the items in this auction, and it's such a process. It's you bring it in, then you kind of it goes through the whole route, through the photo matching or autographs getting authenticated, boxes getting wrapped, or in this case, a case getting wrapped for the 7980 OPG case, and it's a fun process from start to finish. And tonight's kind of fun because we get to see all those bids come in late, of course, as they usually do. And it's something that we enjoy quite a bit here.
Yeah, so you said it. Let's start with the big story in the industry. It's one of the most exciting discoveries we've had in the hobby. The 1979-80 OPG Wax Box sealed case. Tony, incredible story behind this.
Please. It was unbelievable. I got our coworker, Jason Simons, sent me a text at about 10:30 one random Wednesday night showing a photo of this case. And I was talking to Jason and Lee Iskowitz, and we all kind of couldn't sleep that night thinking of this case actually being up in Saskatchewan, up in Canada. And it was, first of all, the journey of getting it, and then getting it here, and then getting it authenticated by Steve Hart. It was quite the process. Took us a full day, but we did end up securing it, getting it from Saskatchewan to Toronto, and then driven down here. And then you were part of the process of getting it authenticated. But I go up there a lot, up to Canada, And the thing is, people talk about, oh, I remember these, and you hear about them, but then to actually see one, it was incredible because I had never seen one before. You'll see a box every few years, but this is an entire case. And the journey that it made, coming from Canada to here, then to Steve Hart, then back to here, making the journey that it did, it's incredible. And nobody knew that this even existed. That's the whole thing. You hear about these things, but this one was sitting in a house. They bought 2 cases of them, opened up one back in 1979 or 1980, and left this one, and it was recently unearthed. And it's incredible, the action on this. You can see the little hole on the top of the case, and the consignor. The consignor is his son opened up the corner of it, and figuring to see a blue box, meaning 1980-81, when he saw it was a white box, then he understood what he actually had. And the reasoning behind it was, it says 1980 hockey cards, and most of the time that would mean 1980-81. They would have the first half of the season indicated as for the year. OPG did it where they had the second half of the season. So it's quite the surprise, and it's really been a big deal north of the border and here as well, as you can see by the price. But just an incredible find, and kind of the hobby story of 2024 right now, that these things are still out there. They're still being found. It's just a matter of somebody finding them. And this one here, it's incredible. One of the most viewed and the most tracked items I've ever seen at Heritage in our sports division. And a lot of action yesterday, some more bids today. And I think as it gets closer to 10 o'clock, it's really going to get interesting.
Yeah, and as you said, I was lucky enough to go to Baseball Card Exchange and see them authenticate the case. A thank you to Steve Hart and his team for inviting us in. It was an amazing experience to see them work their craft. And I can tell you they were just as excited as we were when they determined that it was legitimate and it was as advertised. And the thing I can say about it is we've been lucky to sell several 79 OPG wax boxes, and I've never seen them so white. These are gleaming whites. Steve Hart was shocked by it. So an amazing find. It is 16 boxes within that case, 48 packs within each box, 14 cards in each pack. So we've got over 10,000 cards in there, and I have lifted it several times, and I can tell you it is quite heavy, and it is going to be a mammoth addition to somebody's collection tonight. It finds a new home. Only its second home since it was purchased for $150 originally.
Very good return on investment on that one, I would say.
And the thing I love about it is it was found in the middle of Canada, small town, Regina, Canada. That is the perfect place for something like this to be discovered. And we're all excited to see where it ends up tonight.
And I mean, these were collectors. The guy who owned this is a collector in the truest sense, and we got to meet him. We went up there to meet him, and he is a collector, and his son, they are just beyond thrilled. Of course, these numbers here are just amazing, and we could have never guessed that this would actually be in somebody's house that was unoccupied at the time. And it's just amazing that something like this still is out there. And we're really excited to be offering this, and I can't wait to see what it goes for.
Me too. And good timing for this next lot that you wanted to talk about, because the big thing about 79 OPGs, there's the Gretzky rookie, and we have a Gretzky rookie in this auction also.
Yeah, and this card, we've talked about this before. So many pitfalls with this card, whether it be centering, whether it be the rough cut, the corners, the blue borders. There's so many pitfalls with this card. And this one here is the PSA 9. Of course, we sold the other two PSA 10s, and it's kind of a cool piece because we are selling the case, and here is one of the Gretzky's in a 9. Again, it's really hard to find these in top grade, and this one here is just gorgeous. Great color, registration, everything. And right now it's at 120,000 with hour 52 left. So there's some more time left for bids to come in on that. if you can't win the case, you can win the card.
One interesting tidbit I got out of Steve Hart when he was authenticating the case is he said the OPGs were cut with a heated wire and not a blade.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Which I would love to see a demonstration or video of that if anybody had it. So good timing for this card. As we've seen with a lot of things, when we sold the 52 Topps mantle in a 9.5 for 12.6 million, all the 52 mantles, we saw a rise in the value at all grade levels and mantle cards in general. So great time for hockey collectors, which I think it's going to be have a big effect on the hockey card industry. And we'll see what happens with both of those tonight. Speaking of hockey, we are also thrilled and honored to be presenting the Mike Bossy collection, which some of the highlights are closing tonight. The bulk of the collection, which is over 100 items, will be closing tomorrow night. But some of the highlights tonight, of course, got a gamer. This is the 83-84 game-worn Islanders jersey. Bossy, one of the greatest players in hockey history, premier scorer, one of the greatest scorers of all time. And he is absolutely beloved in New York, playing for the Islanders. We had a preview in our New York office on Park Avenue, and so many Islanders fans came in and were talking to his family who was there about how much he meant to them and how much they loved to watch him play. And we've had a lot of player collections, and this one's right at the top. It's so incredible to get to go through a player's entire collection, work with the family. Of course, we've also got some rings and awards. There's a lot of awards and rings in the auction, including the first two Stanley Cup championship rings of the Islanders' 4 championships. We've got the 80 and the 81 ring. Beautiful examples, great era for championship rings, things you could still wear out. And I'll say we sell a lot of NFL and NBA championship rings, and normal-sized people like us usually cannot wear them. But for hockey players, you can probably fit into this ring, a much more normal-sized ring and a very classy look that they put together.
It is. It's a great look. You mentioned the jersey that we're selling. That's the only Islander jersey that he had in his collection, which is amazing. He had a 9-10 year career, but that's the only one that he had, and it did photo match to, I believe, it photo matched to a few games at least, and shows great wear, stick marks, hit marks, just a really nice high end Bossy jersey, and the rings, of course, the ultimate achievement for an athlete is winning a championship ring, and these rings are gorgeous. They are in great condition, first of all, and they're not too gaudy. They just like you said, you could wear these, and it's not like you're not a target like you would be with some of these current rings.
And there's his Hall of Fame ring as well, which very special to get an opportunity as a collector or hockey fan or an Islanders fan to have the Hall of Fame ring, the ultimate achievement for an athlete. We also have, I love in hockey that the players get an individual Stanley Cup trophy. It's a miniature version of Lord Stanley's Cup, and we have those as well from the first 2 Islanders championships. There is also a lot of game pucks from milestones for Mike Bossy. His 50-goal puck, first goal puck, 8 seasons of 50-plus goals. Those are very cool. Some of them I've even put onto plaques. But there's 2 items that really caught my eye in the Bossy collection that I think are so unique and interesting. This one here is his 1966 hockey trophy. It is the first trophy that Mike Bossy won. It is for Pee Wee hockey. Everybody on the team got one of these, and it's got a picture of 9-year-old Mike Bossy there on the left, and then his Pee Wee hockey team. When we sell these player collections, often there are some just incredible gems in there that are very special to fans of that player. And this is one that definitely caught my eye for someone who had a huge, illustrious career and a gigantic packed trophy case. This is the one that started it all right here. This one will be closing tomorrow night, but I love that one.
And I think those are Type 1 photos, aren't they, probably?
Probably, because they're mounted, Henry could not authenticate.
Yeah, Henry couldn't give us Type 1 status. But no, that is definitely his first hockey trophy. And, yeah, it's kind of neat to see the beginning all the way through his NHL career. And there's something for everybody here. There really is. You've got the rings, the jerseys, and then you've got some of the more personal items like this one, his first hockey trophy, which is really, really a cool bookend, I guess, Bruce.
Yeah, there's some artwork in there as well. There's his passport. We've seen those have been very popular when they come up in player collections. And with him living in Canada, there's a lot of stamps on there. The most stamped passport I've ever seen that we sold was Muhammad Ali's, but Mike
Sure.
Bossy's is number 2. That's a cool addition. And this here is an amazing piece. This is Mike Bossy's retired number banner that hung in Nassau Stadium. How cool is that, Tony?
Yeah, you very rarely do you get something like this. Teams keep these things, or if they get a new set, these rarely become available to the public. And this thing is impressive size-wise, and I don't know if they washed it because it's got an interesting stadium smell to it that when I wrote this one, that kind of stood out.
Just like being in the Islanders' home right there.
Exactly.
It
is really impressive.
111 inches by 170 inches. If I was cataloging that, I might have gone with feet for that size, but we'll let you guys do the math. Another exciting collection we have is the Red Arback collection. Tony, what caught your eye in that?
The one that, there's a lot of really cool items from his collection. There was one, like a jacket from the Washington from a Washington team, like really early basketball. But the championship rings, of course, when you think of the Celtics, he is the guy who kind of started the whole thing to really took him to the next level, drafted a lot of these, Bill Russell and Cousy and all those guys. He was the guy instrumental in building this team and building it for generations. And the one that I really, really love is the 1965 championship ring. He was coach of the year, of course, and the Celtics, as they did during that time period, almost every year, won the championship. And again, it's a beautiful looking ring. You've got the shamrock on both sides. And let's be honest, it's Red Arback, who is one of the biggest names in NBA history. The coach of the year trophy is named after him. And it's Red Arback Court. And when you're talking Celtics, he's the guy that I think of, at least, because he was the one that kind of built this whole thing up and saw it for decades on end, and was a champion at every level with the Celtics. So it's a really, really cool. And again, it's a nice condition. This is something that you could wear it. Not that I would recommend it. It is Red Arback's, but it's something that displays just really, really nicely. And the Mr. Celtic, that's who I would think it would be.
And same with the Bossy collection, some of the highlights from the Arback collection closed tonight in session 1, but the bulk of the collection will close tomorrow night, including this one, which you mentioned, but I love. This is a 1946-49 Washington Capitals warm-up jacket from the Arback collection. This dates to the NBA's inaugural season. How about that? And I just think as you said, he's so synonymous with the Celtics, and this is an item outside of the Celtics, and it's signed by Arback as well. Very cool design. Don't worry, Celtics fans, it still has green in there. So not that Kelly green.
Kind of dull green, but it's green. The one thing about this, the graphics on the back are just so beautiful. You almost need to see it in person. And you've got the number of the player on the sleeve or shoulder. But yeah, these early basketball items have so much personality to them, and especially that emblem is just gorgeous. And it, coming from his collection, it had to mean a lot to him. And just a cool piece of his earlier basketball career.
And then, as we mentioned, there's always some very unique items in a athlete or coach's club. And this next one is so cool. This is Red Arback's license plate. Several license plates, and of course, they say Celtics. Very cool piece. If you're a Celtics fan, win those and throw them right on your car.
You can be red for a day.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to let you park,
I like it.
wherever you want in Boston if you have.
If there's anybody who should have Celtics on their license plate, it would be red.
I'm sure they reserve
without a shadow of a doubt. He would be the guy that because he was the guy.
And there's also a 1980 top basketball unopened wax box in the Arback collection that came from Arback. And that's a cool one because it has the Magic and Bird rookie card in it.
So Red didn't open up the packs?
Didn't he? Had the restraint.
Wow. There's no cigar smoke or anything. There's no smoke damage or anything.
It might smell like cigar.
Oh my God. That's actually really cool. I didn't know we had that.
But if you're a wax collector, a lot of times wax doesn't have a great story behind it. I mean, the OPG case does, but here's one that does. It's from Red Arback's collection, and it's got the Bird Rookie in it.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Another great collection.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Another Hall of Famer collection, in fact, is the Bob Dandridge Collection, who went into the Hall of Fame in 2021. Amazing player, real glue guy. He won 2 titles in the 70s. He won with the Bucks and he won with the Bullets. And he scored the most points in the NBA Finals in the 70s. And when you think of how many luminaries played in the finals in the 70s, it was Dandridge who scored the most points. An incredible player, and included in that collection, we have some gamers from him. We have his championship ring.
Right back.
But we also have this, which is his Basketball Hall of Fame trophy. When he went into Springfield, this is the trophy he was awarded. This is the first one I've ever seen. It's modeled after the tower that is outside of the Basketball Hall of Fame, if you've ever been there. And it is a sizable award and heavy. It's a great piece. And if you are a basketball fan, you are just not going to see these come into the marketplace very often. So some great Dandridge items that are out there finding new homes this weekend, including this one, which closes tonight. I love how Tony just runs off. That's how busy we are on auction closing night. So we will take a quick break, and you can take a look at some highlights. And when we come back, we will bring on our special guest who is going to drop some knowledge on everyone.
Every consignment we get at Heritage is big, but some are huge. This just arrived at our headquarters in Dallas, and we're going to open it up. This is a 9-foot by 8-foot Leroy Neiman original painting from 1975 to 76. It was used as the cover of the 1977 NBA All-Star Game program. And as you can see, it is covered in NBA legends. Main feature is Dr. J, Wilt, and Kareem. Looks like Wilt's dunking it on Kareem and Dr. J. And here we've got Bill Russell, who was actually retired. He was the coach of Seattle. Knicks legend Willis Reed, Oscar Robertson in a Cincinnati Royals uniform, the Buffalo Braves Bob McAdoo, Harlem Globetrotter legend Meadowlark Lemon, George McGinnis from the Sixers. Here in the corner you can see Walt Frazier. Even though he's small in comparison, you can still see he's got that style. It's an unbelievable piece, obviously combining the world of sports and art, and it's going to find a new owner in our winter platinum auction. We've seen a lot of NFL Super Bowl rings, but this one in our platinum auction is the biggest and most expensive ever produced. This is the Rams 2021 Super Bowl ring for Super Bowl 56, where they beat the Bengals. It is a Type A player's ring, and as you can see, it is massive. 22 carats and 144 ounce player ring. The top of the ring twists off, and inside they have a replica of the field and a replica of their famous TV screens that circle the stadium. And you can see behind it is a piece of game-used football from the 2021 Rams season. We're proud to present one of the most important collegiate gamers the hobby has ever seen. The incredible Ernie Davis followed his idol Jim Brown to Syracuse and even wore the same number 44. Davis wore this jersey on November 4th, 1961, when his Orangemen played Pittsburgh. 1961, Davis's Heisman-winning season, and this tearaway jersey saw plenty of action in that game. Following the game, it was awarded to a fan, along with the game ball, and our online listing has images of that presentation. Sadahara O cards are incredibly rare regardless. This is the earliest known O rookie card. This is the 1959 JBR 61. This card was distributed in Shuken Shonen magazine as an uncut sheet of 3 cards. The set is rumored to be 100 cards, complete, different sports. Only 33 baseball players from the set is known. Less than 10 cards exist from each example, and this is the only known Sadahara O example from that issue. It was issued in the preseason of his rookie year, so it is the earliest O card, and this is the only example graded by PSA. An incredible international baseball rarity that's going to find a new home in our Winter Platinum Night auction.
Oh, fantastic stuff there. There's just so many highlights to talk about, and who better to discuss them with than hobby luminary and legend, Mr. Joe Orlando. Joe, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Mike, apparently when nature calls, nature calls. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm guessing with Tony, it's probably food related.
he's still not there.
He's, as soon as the dinner bell rings, he's on it. That's just something you have to deal with.
Great. Yeah. You can't change it.
But thank you for joining us. I know it's a busy night for everyone, but there's so much to talk about. We'd love to hear your expertise on what's caught your eye in the auction.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you guys are already doing such a wonderful job of is, when people think of platinum, of course, they think of things like the case, 7-figure things, 6-figure things, but there's also a lot of items that are under $10,000 in the auction. So what I'd like to begin with is parts of the Ramsburg collection and specifically the T206s, if we could just sort of gradually go through some of the fronts of those cards. So, I was thinking to myself, when you think about all the different card issues that have been produced over time, there are very few that are like T206 in the sense that they can hold up in terms of eye appeal, even when you get below PSA 5. And when you look at some of these cards, they're just such stellar examples of finding eye appeal in grades that range from 2 to 5. I mean, really what it comes down to in a lot of these cases it might have just, corner wear, a light surface defect such as a wrinkle. But on T206, because of the way the cards are designed, the white border really just operates as a frame because your eyes are drawn to the center of the card because of the beautiful artwork contained therein. So when you really zoom in on it, I mean, that card, when you look at the grade, you say, geez, it's not a high grade card. And by the way, not everyone can afford 7s, 8s, and even the occasional 9. They can go for enormous amounts of money, but you could really find bang for your buck in these grades if you're discerning. And one of the things that we did when we took this collection in last year, and we did write about it in Intelligent Collector, one of the Heritage's publications, and also put it in the newsletter, a collection that had over 10,000 cards that date to the late 19th century and early 20th centuries. I had a chance to meet the granddaughter and the 2 grandsons. They were a wonderful family to get to know a little bit. And this collection was passed down through 3 generations. And it was by a real collector, someone who was actively working on the collection. It wasn't a traditional find, so to speak, where cards were simply discarded and set aside and found decades later. This was someone who actually was an early collector and worked on it. And at the heart of this collection were about 3,300 T206s. And so that was that's really the anchor, the foundation of this collection in terms of value. And so what we did here, this is the sort of first appearance of some of those cards in February Platinum, and we sort of hand selected some of those individual cards that we felt had really terrific eye appeal for the grades. And again, when you see them and you enlarge them and blow them up, they're just gorgeous cards. They're fresh, the colors, the centering. Again, if you can live with very light defects around the perimeter, these are the exact kinds of cards for you. So we've experienced a lot of great early activity on many of these lots, and I would really highly recommend for collectors out there to take a hard look at some of these cards, because I feel that the eye appeal in some of these grades are just outstanding.
Yeah, and a great story behind that collection of the family having just this mammoth collection of cards that are raw, they hadn't been graded. I love when something like that surfaces in the hobby.
Yeah, I mean, it's really rare these days. I mean, and again, we're not talking about a find where something just happened, it was forgotten about and then it was discovered. This is a collection that was passed down through the 3 generations. So you think about all the obstacles it had to go through to get here today. I mean, obviously the industry started taking off in the 1980s. It could have been sold. It could have been, it could have been lost in many moves. And we tell the story in the extensive article that we put out there. There were so many opportunities for these cards to sort of go away, but somehow, some way, they got here. And last year, again, we were very fortunate and privileged to be able to take this in. But again, you look at the Ty Cobb, it's a 3.5 on a scale of 10. But look at the eye appeal of that card, the rich red, the portrait, the registration, again, the centering of the card. You can find really, really terrific eye appeal on many of these cards. And again, there are dozens of them in the auction, and they close. This is a session 2 close for the most part. So I would encourage collectors out there to really take a hard look at some of these lots.
Yeah, that's a great point that, everybody loves to talk about the 7 and 6 figure items, but Platinum Night has something for everybody. And very cool to become essentially the second owner of these cards in this massive collection. And there's a lot of stuff for every collector in that collection.
Absolutely. So if it's okay to move on to another subject, I'd like to talk about the PSA 10 1963 Topps Hank Aaron.
Yeah, let's do it. That's a great one.
So, I remember in my many, many years at PSA, one of the commonly asked questions was, what is the difference between a Mint 9 and a Gem Mint 10? And sometimes it's hard to articulate what that difference is. So I thought what we could do today is actually pull up a 9 that we had sold previously, put it up on the screen next to the 10, and walk through the differences. So they are subtle. They are both absolutely gorgeous cards, right?
Indeed.
But when you look a little bit closer, if you look at, for example, if we are able to zoom in on the bottom 2 corners of the Mint 9, if you get close on there, we may not be able to, but if we're able to, you could see on the green border, there's very, very light flecks off the green under magnification when you really zoom in. And of course, Heritage offers the best images really in the hobby in terms of the ability to be able to magnify and zoom in on any of the items that we're offering during the auction. So you can see it on the 9 when you zoom in very close. On the 10, the green is completely solid along the bottom border. And then I would say more importantly, when you take a step back and you kind of look at both cards side by side as you see them right now, on the 10, you can see in the middle of the card, you can see the registration and the ability for the image of Aaron to really pop. It has that extra sort of pop or X factor that collectors like to talk about when it comes to eye appeal. The 9 is beautiful, but the 10 just has that little something extra in addition, again, under magnification, the whiteness of the borders. So it has the bright white borders, the solid red bottom border. And then again, when you look at that image, when you see these cards side by side, the clarity of Aaron on the 10 compared to the 9, which is also beautiful. And if you saw the 9 by itself, you wouldn't think anything of it. But when you see them side by side, it really shows the difference. It is subtle, but you can see it when you have them, next to each other.
Yeah, and so rarely, I'm sure there are many people out there who have sent a card in, gotten a 9, and wondered, why isn't it a 10? And you never get the chance to compare it side by side with the 10. 10 in almost any card is incredibly rare. But when you see it there, you can see that subtle difference.
Yeah, and again, the 9, the card that we had sold in the past, it's also very beautiful. But the 10, when you see it, and if we can pull up that 10, if we can click on the full image, if that's possible on the 10, you can see when you zoom in on it on that bottom green edge, it's solid all the way across. Even under high-powered magnification, it's solid all the way through. Where even on a 9, you can see very, very, if you zoom in on those bottom 2 corners, very tiny flecks off the green at the tips of the corners, even though they're perfectly square and perfectly sharp, just tiny little flecks off the green. Those are the tiny differences that you may see between a 9 and a 10. And I thought this would be a nice illustration for people who are wondering about that question.
Amazing stuff. Tony's famous for, before he buys anything, he looks at it under high-density magnification. Tony, what magnifying apparatus are you using these days?
I have my trusty Heritage Auctions magnifier right here. So I do have one at my desk.
Oh, amazing. Great stuff, as always, Joe. What else you got? Keep going.
Yeah, let's jump into some bats. How about that? We haven't tackled bats yet. So maybe the 19, I think it's the 50-51 Joe DiMaggio bat. If we could do that.
Everybody loves it when you talk bats, Joe. So this is what everybody's waiting for.
They're fun to talk about, that's for sure. So if you are looking for a prototypical high-quality, late-career Joe D bat, this has pretty much everything you're looking for. So when you zoom in kind of near that center brand, one of the things you might notice is there's little blue streaks. You can see it kind of at the front end of the center brand there, and you can see it really throughout the bat. And I'll tell you this, when you hold the bat in person in your hands, there are these blue streaks all over the bat. You can't see it as much online. They stick out a little bit more when you're holding it in person. But what that is, for people who may not know, those are bat rack streaks and dugout streaks from the Yankees dugout. So it was blue and painted blue. So when the bat was going in and out of the rack, getting kind of tossed around the dugout here and there, it would pick up little bits of paint along the way. And so you see these paint streaks all over the bat. I mean, again, when you see it in person, it really sticks out to you. But that really puts it at the scene in Yankee Stadium. On the knob of the bat, you'll see it's a model number D29L. And for those who may not know, the L, what that stands for is the extra large knob. It's a large knob, and he would move between a much smaller knob and a large knob. The larger knobs you see more towards the kind of second part of his career, towards the end of his career. But the reason someone may go with a larger knob versus a smaller knob, and by the way, we're going to jump into a knobless bat when we talk about the Roberto Clemente bat. But when you have your bottom hand kind of on a bat, if you can imagine that during a swing, it kind of it kind of holds that bottom hand in place during a very, very powerful, very strong swing. The flexibility that a small knob may give you is that you can actually move your hand a little bit, your bottom hand a little bit lower on the bat. And as a matter of fact, some players are known for wrapping their pinky finger or even their bottom 2 fingers on the knob or slightly off the knob as they move their hands down down the bat. So the larger knob kind of holds your hand in place when you take a pretty strong swing. That bottom hand kind of sticks there because the knob protrudes more at the base of the bat. This bat, I had a chance to hold it in person, which is a great privilege. One of the great privileges of working at Heritage is being able to handle some of these museum quality pieces. But the left barrel, which you can't see really online, but the left barrel is absolutely hammered. And that's label up is where Joe DiMaggio would use. That's how he would usually hit, with the label facing up. So you want to see tremendous use on the left barrel. This one is absolutely crushed. As a matter of fact, there's even a little raised grain on the back. And the only way you can get that is from repeated contact with a high velocity, pitch, with the ball striking the bat over and over again. So the bat really has everything. Now, from the I would say mid to late 1940s into the early 50s, at the end of his career, once in a while, DiMaggio would apply a pretty heavy pine tar pattern along the handle, kind of moving up towards the center brand in some cases. Most of the time, though, he did not. There are remnants of a light tar on this handle, but most of the time, the bats look like this. So it's really a poster child for an elite DiMaggio from the end of his career. And when he ended his career, I mean, he was so consistent his entire career at the plate. The first season, he had a non-DiMaggio-like performance. He decided to walk away. I mean, he was known for being such a perfectionist and holding himself to such a high standard. He just walked away from the game at 36, when he still could play, but he just couldn't play up to the level that he wanted to play to. And, you see, unfortunately, in some cases, you see the exact opposite. We have seen that in recent years with some really great players who tend to stick around for several years after they become a shell of themselves. But DiMaggio, he was so good at, just check his stats for his whole career. The first season, he didn't put up DiMaggio-like numbers. He walked away. And so it's a small sample size. He did lose 3 full seasons in the prime of his career to military service. So who knows what he probably would have finished much closer to 500 home runs and put up a lot more in terms of career statistics had he not lost those seasons. But this is just a great example of a DiMaggio if you're looking for one.
Wow, incredible insight there, as you see D-Sup commenting on the incredible breakdown of that bat, overflowing with knowledge. And those details is what makes bat collecting so interesting, with like the raised grain. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, I mean, that it does make, again, it being a bat enthusiast myself, I mean, it's the character of each bat, the fingerprints of each player that make it really cool. And so speaking of that, if we could move to the Roberto Clemente bat that we have in the auction, which is really spectacular.
This is amazing.
As we talk about in the business, when we're looking at really anything, bats, cases, cards, autographs, jerseys, or otherwise, there's a sort of a question: does this check all the boxes? I can't imagine another Clemente bat that checks more boxes than this bat does. Provenance, incredible, check. It's autographed, and you could see the autograph from outer space, check. It has incredible Roberto Clemente characteristics, the exact style of 21 you want to see on the knob of the bat, in addition to grooving on the barrel. And let's talk about that knob first, because I had mentioned, as you can see there, it's the classic U1. It's knobless. So there's he actually would use, he went, again, between a knob, sort of a traditional knob for part of his career, and then he also used these bats, which are basically knobless bats. And so he could put his hands pretty low there, but there was nothing sort of, as we talked about with the DiMaggio, with the larger knob, there's nothing preventing that bottom hand from coming off. But if you notice the way Clemente kind of threw his body weight and used his wrists in his swing, and his hands would sort of come off the bat at the finish, it makes a lot of sense. So you see that faded 21 on the knob. Now, we talked about checking the boxes. This bat has been photo matched not once, but twice. One of those photo matches shows Clemente in a portrait. So this is one of the other ones, but there's another one. We could start with this one. So this one is a photo match near the center brand, and you could see how the grain aligns with the center brand, and it's a dead match in a couple of spots, and Resolution did a great job of illustrating that point. There's also a second match, and that is a photo of Roberto Clemente where he's posing, and the knob is facing, if you actually go to the view more, because there's so many images. This is part of this bat checking all the boxes. There are so many accompanying documents and images and photo matches that it's sort of endless. But here's a great shot of Clemente where the knob is facing the camera, and you could see in particular that little sort of, it almost looks like a quotation mark kind of around the one at the side right there, and you could see that in the faded on the actual bat that we have now. It's faded, but you can see that exact same mark, which is somewhat unusual, right outside the one on the Clemente Gamer, including the underline there. So it's been matched to both this image and the other image that Resolution broke down for us in their documentation. But it has a little bit of everything. And I had mentioned earlier, you can't really see it online, but on the left barrel, there's what we call grooving. And this is kind of an interesting subject because I don't know what the science is behind this, but there are 4 or 5 sort of straight line grooves where sometimes players would do this to the handle, sometimes they would do it to the barrel. On the handle, it's pretty self-explanatory. If someone carves grooves into the handle and you pick up the bat and hold it in your hands, you can feel that extra grip. It makes it's sort of a rougher surface, and it really sticks to your hands when you're grabbing it. So some people may say, well, why would anyone score or groove the barrel? So some people believed that if you scored the barrel of your bat and you're sort of hitting this spinning ball against a round bat, at the point of contact, it would actually potentially create more spin on the launch back into the field. So if you make contact, it would sort of grip the ball and send it back into the field. Now, I'm not a doctor, nor am I a scientist. I don't know if there's
strongly disagree
to that.
Pretty close though.
Yeah, but some players would do that. Clemente was one of them. He didn't do it to every bat, but this one just happens to have grooves on top of everything else. So it is hammered with use. It is beautiful. It has all the Clemente characteristics you'd like to see, including, by the way, some mild tar remnants along the handle. The autograph, again, people could see across the room. The provenance is terrific. It has been matched twice, 2 different images by 2 different companies. I don't know what else anyone would want if you're looking for a Clemente bat. So it really is an elite example for Clemente.
And obviously, Joe has seen plenty of amazing examples. And since we got this one in, he has been very excited about it. So that's another box to check for back collectors there. This is on the highlight list for Joe Orlando.
Yeah, and I think that would be a foundation or a centerpiece to any major bat collection, Pirates collection, Clemente collection. It really is terrific. For the next bat, if we could pull up the Ken Griffey Jr. MVP season bat.
There we go.
What I really like about this one when we pull it up here is that, look, with more modern era player bats, it's really about finding the one that speaks to you. So it's not that Ken Griffey Jr. bats are scarce, but you're trying to find, okay, which one stands out among the rest, among the population of Griffey bats out there. And as amazing as his career was, he did only win the MVP once. And this bat is pinpointed to that season. And when you look at the late 1990s, where he had this unbelievable run in the late 1990s, this was the pinnacle of all those great seasons. This is when he was crowned MVP. And the bat, again, you're looking for it to check the boxes. It's autographed. It is pounded with use on the label upside on the right barrel for a left-handed hitter. And maybe most importantly for Griffey, it has that crisscross taping pattern, his classic, unique style crisscross taping pattern that is completely intact along the handle. And one thing bat collectors or just collectors in general may notice about this example, maybe versus some others, is that the soiling, kind of the darkening of that crisscross taping pattern, what that tells me just sort of intuitively is that this was a bat he used for a while. So sometimes you'll see a bat that technically grades very high, but it has very white tape because it probably wasn't used for that long. This one you could see, the dirt, he's grabbing dirt. He's got, his batting gloves. I mean, the crisscross taping pattern is very darkened, which means this was probably a favorite bat of his for a nice streak during arguably his greatest season. So it's again, for a bat collector, for someone who wants an elite example of a Griffey Jr. bat, this is it.
Yeah, and I saw that one at our New York preview and agreed. It just looks like it had a ton of use and that it was, you could even say, a favorite of his. And we've seen some really great prices for Griffey items of late. So that's a good one for collectors to keep an eye on.
Yeah, he's definitely getting, it seems like, more and more respect as we get further away from his playing days, for sure.
Deservedly so as well. He was always so popular, and his material has always done very well, but now people are really, with, like you said, a little distance, being able to put him into the pantheon of all-time greats.
Yeah. So maybe one more bat we could check out. I've taken up so much of your time here, but this is actually on the
going. Yeah, this is a great education as always.
More affordable one, but this is the Jorge Posada bat from 2004. Now, people are probably wondering, here we are talking about Joe D, Clemente, Griffey. Now we're talking about Jorge Posada. So what's really interesting is there are players in the bat world that are just as collected for their achievements and their personalities as they are the character of their bats. And he's a great example of that combination. Obviously, an extremely popular player with the New York Yankees, part of the core four, part of that incredible, nearly 20-year run where they were winning so much, won 5 world championships during that time from 96 to 2009, was a really key piece or key component to that great team. Now, when it comes to his bats, they're incredible looking. I mean, in terms of their character. So here you can see, just by looking at the face of the bat, there's cleat marks all over the top of the barrel. It's autographed, of course, which is a nice finishing touch, but you'll see the pine tar buildup that kind of runs from around the center brand down kind of in the upper handle area. Even though this is a black bat, you can still see that pine tar pattern going up through that Louisville Slugger in the center brand. And then you have, similar to Griffey, a crisscross taping pattern down below with a mixture of that tar and, of course, dirt from just it collecting on his hands. Now, Posada was a guy, as baseball fans know, he was one of the few players in baseball that didn't use batting gloves. He went to the plate with no batting gloves at all, which is rare these days. Most guys go to the plate with batting gloves. He didn't like using them, but you could see the immense character that his bats have. Again, it doesn't hurt that he was part of those great Yankee teams, but if you're a real bat connoisseur, if you're really into this category, it's one of those bats that you put it on a bat rack, you put it in a display, and your eyes sort of go immediately to the bat because it looks so darn cool. That's the bottom line, is that his well-used bats have an eye appeal quality to them that is simply different from most other players that he played against and with.
Yeah, it's definitely very eye-catching, and like we've talked about a lot, that bats have these specific characteristics that players put into them, and when you know those little tick marks for them, it can make any of them so interesting. And I mean, a great champion too, and from one of the most popular teams out there. That's sure to catch the eye of some collectors.
No, definitely. So I've taken up a lot of your time. If we're probably around I could keep going, or I could jump back on later in the show if you'd like.
I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break, and Tony and I will blabber on for a little bit, and then we'll bring it back on here in a little bit, Joe, before we get to extended bidding. Thank you, as always, for sharing.
No, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
See you soon.
One of the best things about working at Heritage is that every day is like Christmas morning. You never know what you're going to see. And today, we got a huge package in every sense of the word. We're about to open it up. It's something our sports collectors and our fine art department are excited about. Box in a box, people. That's the way to do it. To Mike Winter, one of my greatest fans, best always, Ted Williams, 1980. Ted Williams, painted special for Mike Winter, Leroy Neiman, New York, 1980. It's a 42 by 28 original painting. Incredible piece of artwork that's coming up in our February Platinum auction.
One of the most treasured pieces of lumber is in my hands right now. We've got a 2005 game used Ichiro game used bat. The cool thing about this is it's actually photo matched to his 996 career hit. One thing about Ichiro is he took great care of his equipment, didn't throw his bats around. It's signed here on the barrel. But if you look at the back, there's multiple ball marks, stitch impressions, really nice, high quality Ichiro game used bat, photo matched to a hit. It's PSA DNA game used 10, so really, really cool bat from Ichiro.
We've handled some incredible pieces of baseball history, but this is the finest baseball poster we've ever seen. It dates to the 1888 World Tour by Albert Spalding's Chicago All-Star teams, and this is 100% original. Very important tour in the history of baseball. It began in 1888 in October in Chicago. The team then went to San Francisco, where they took a boat to Australia. They played a dozen games in Australia before then proceeding to play exhibitions in Egypt, Ireland, England, France, and Italy. Then they would return to the United States. It was the first time baseball was truly spread across the globe, and this incredible imagery encompasses everything that the game was in that era. And of course, it's full of luminaries of the 19th century game. We got Albert Spalding, who organized the entire event, John Montgomery Ward, one of the greatest players, Cap Anson here, with his incredible mustachery. You can see the rest of the All-Stars. You've got the ship that they traveled the world on in amazing condition and all original. It's going to find a new home in our Winter Platinum Night auction. Having a pair of Rocky Marciano fight-worn gloves is an incredible moment for any auction house. But in our Winter Platinum Night auction, we have 2 pairs of Marciano fight-worn gloves. Each one is from a match with Jersey Joe Walcott. The first is from September 23rd, 1952 at Municipal Stadium, when Marciano became the heavyweight champion. That fight in the 13th round produced one of the most famous boxing photos ever, when you see Marciano connecting with Walcott's face in the fight-ending blow, sweat jumping off of Walcott's face. You can see that Marciano's face is bruised from the heavy punishment of the 12.5 round fight. That gave Marciano the title. Then, as was custom, there was a rematch, Marciano's first defense of his heavyweight title against Jersey Joe Walcott. And that one ended a little quicker with a quick combination from Marciano, but we have both pairs of gloves from those 2 fights from the only heavyweight champion to retire undefeated. Incredible opportunity and amazing relics from the sweet science that are going to find new owners in our Winter Platinum Night auction.
Tony, there's so many incredible items in this auction. It's hard to keep up, but let's take a look at the bid board there, Tony. What's going on the?
Wow, yeah, there's a lot of activity. Mike Bossy, 1981 ring, 175,000.
That
Bump
is
Hanley,
by far a record for.
Yeah, it is. 1980 ring, 175,000. Lou Gehrig photo to Bump Hadley, 8,500 right now, which is a really cool piece. We have a Babe Ruth one that is also a part of this auction. So really cool here. 74-75 Hank Aaron game used bat, PSA 10 at 60,000. So really nice high grade Aaron bat. A lot of action, a lot of bids, and this is when it gets fun. We have an hour and 4 minutes for people to get their bids in, and that's when the fun really is going to start at 10 o'clock Central Time.
Exactly. So session 1 is closing tonight. It's the first 150 so lots. The rest of the auction will close tomorrow night in session 2. Extended bidding for session 2, also at 10 p.m. Central Time. But we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this Babe Ruth rookie card that is closing tonight. That's right, Tony. Babe Ruth rookie card. Need I say more? Well, I will. This is the 1915 Boston Red Sox real photo postcard. and it's in a PSA 6. Incredible piece here. There in the middle, in the back, you can see a 20-year-old Babe Ruth pitcher for the
Look who's right next to him, too. Carl
Mays of note.
Wow.
But yeah, Ruth was 710 home runs away from his career total when this was taken. An incredible piece here. We suspect that this was given to fans at Braves Field for the third and fourth games of the World Series in 1915. They were at Braves Stadium. They borrowed the National League Stadium because it had superior seating capacity to the newly constructed Fenway Park, Tony. Newly constructed. That's how old this piece is.
That's amazing. Yeah, I did a Fenway Park tour, and to think that Ruth started his baseball run there is just amazing to me. And this thing is just amazing. Great clarity on it. Everybody's is identified, and it's a pretty high grade as well. I mean, a PSA 6. My goodness, just a remarkable find. It really, truly
not
is.
Just pretty high, Tony. There are only 10 of these cards in the combined PSA and SGC census, and this is the highest graded of all those 10. Top one, none higher. So this is the finest example of this card. So a real bragging rights item, going to find a new home in just a few short hours.
His true rookie card too. I mean, my goodness.
Exactly.
That is
a cool one with the team photo, and you can see how young he looks in that photo. Up next, Tony, as you know, I'm a big fan of Jackie Robinson cards. We talk about his rookie a lot. We talk about the 1949. This is one of my favorites as well, the 1950 Bowman. You got the full portrait, all of Jackie Robinson there. Great depiction. We've also sold a few of the Type 1 photos used to create this image, but a really special example. Those early 50s Bowman cards had a lot of issues with wax and gum staining, and often the registration and centering is off, but not on this example, which is a near mint to mint plus 8.5. PSA has graded almost 1,300 of these cards, and only 13 have graded superior to this example here.
It's a timeless image. It really is of him. I mean, it's a perfect image of him. And my goodness, yeah, just a beautiful, beautiful card. Great centering too. I mean, look at the centering on that. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, Tony, what can you tell me about the 1959 JBR 61 Shukan Shonen Magazine Sadahara O card?
I'm guessing that's his rookie card, but enlighten me. Tell me a little bit about it. I don't know much about it at all.
Correct. This is his first ever card issued, and this is the only graded example. It is a true rarity. We've been lucky in the last few auctions. We've had some very unique Sadahara O cards, and we have a couple in this auction as well, but this one is really special. It's hand cut, the VG3, but does the grade matter when you can say it's the only known example for the international home run king, as I like to call him?
Yeah. I've never seen this before, so yeah, this one is it's an unbelievable card, and my goodness, you don't see too much of his stuff from that early on either. Usually, when you see stuff, it's more 70s and on late 70s, that kind of thing. Not something this early from 1959. A real youthful image of him. He had 868 home runs, which is wild. This Shukan Shonen magazine is advertised the set to be 100 cards. It featured stars from different sports, but there are only 33 known baseball players in it. Of course, this is the most important one. The first issue with these cards, the first series was from March 18th, 1959. That's the date of the publication this came out of. And this was the preseason that came out of O's rookie season. So unquestionably his first appearance on cardboard, and a very special piece there. And Tony, we haven't really talked any football, but I had to bring up this next one. Fantastic popular card here, the 2017 Panini National Treasures Patrick Mahomes RPA.
the first Mahomes RPA to be offered since the Super Bowl title. So good timing for this one. Mahomes further cementing his legacy. And you can see a beautiful 3-color patch there and a 10 autograph. This is numbered 10 out of 99 as well. So very interested to see after the Super Bowl title and the MVP where this one ends up. It'll be closing tomorrow night.
And what is he, 28 years old? So he's kind of just going to be entering his prime now. And they've got a young team. And my goodness, if he can get anywhere near Brady, he's a generational player. And right now he's at the top of his game. So
yeah,
it's a great time for his.
Scary to say that he's entering his prime now.
Yeah, that's scary to think.
All right, Tony, what cards caught your eye?
Yeah, of course, we always have a number of great cards, but the one that really stood out to me, and we were at the New York preview, was this Mickey Mantle, the 51 Bowman. This has got a vintage autograph on it, and probably 90% of the ones that you find, that you see that ever are auctioned off have a felt tip signature, which is what he, of course, did in the 80s and in the 90s when he did all of his autograph signings. Well, this one actually has a vintage signature from the circa 1951 when he was a rookie, and it has his quote unquote early autograph. Of course, he went to a more standardized half moon is what they call it signature later on. But this one here is a very, very interesting, rare signed rookie card, but a vintage autograph, which you just never see.
And it's from a very interesting collection. We have this one in this auction, but in our future auctions, we'll have some more from the same collection. The consignor's father was living in Chicago in the late 40s and 50s. He was 20-something, huge sports fan, and he would go to Comiskey and the stadiums in Chicago, get these cards signed 60, 70 years ago in person. So we all know how rare it is to find vintage signed cards. So they contacted us. Their father had passed. They discovered his collection, which he had never really mentioned and never showed off, but thousands of cards and hundreds of them autographed, all from this same era, the 40s and 50s. This one, incredible, the period signed mantle, but there are some true gems from that collection. And I just think it's so unique to have a collector with a huge collection like that, and he just wasn't ever talking about it, never showing it off. All of us know collectors love to talk about their collections, but that was just one phase of his life, and he moved on, became a family man, and kind of put it in his past. And now when his family was going through his material, they unearthed it, and we're very excited to offer that in some upcoming auctions. And I think this one's going to have an incredible result tonight.
Yeah, I mean, and he signed it in ballpoint ink, which that's what people want. That's the kind of ink, the felt tip is it's nice because there's not a lot of them, but the ballpoint is really for true collectors. And that's what they really want, actually.
So Tony, other than the OPG case, do we have any other interesting wax in the auction?
Yeah, there's the 1971 unopened cello box, and this is, as far as collectors go, this is one of the really, really tough years. These chipped quite easily, and an unopened box, a cello box, so you get 30 cards per pack, I believe. And this one here, if you're chasing gem mint 10s and mint 9s, this may be one of your only opportunities to find them. These cards, anytime somebody calls about 70s cards, I always ask, do you have 1971? Are they nice? And this could be a tremendous opportunity for somebody if they want to open them up. I don't know. That's a pretty big if, though. But that one really stood out to me.
And seeing that one in person, the colors really pop on that one. The red
and just that set in it, alone is so tough to find in high grade. So that one really stood out to me.
Yeah, and the aesthetics are off the charts. We have just so much incredible wax in this auction. Our compatriot Jason Simons helped a collector that had a massive collection of this vintage wax, many that we'd never seen before. And this next one, I had to talk about it because I had never seen one of these before. Holy relics, Batman. 1966 Topps Batman cello box, 36 unopened packs in there. Hugely popular non-sports set brought to us by artists Norm Saunders and Bob Powell. 55 card set. This came out right when the Adam West and Burt Ward show was the most popular on TV. Many say it's campy. I say it's perfect. But an incredible wax here. And one thing I love that Steve Hart at Baseball Card Exchange does when he inspects the pack, if you can see through the wax, he'll let you know what's in there. And this box does include one pack with the #1 Batman rookie card showing in there if you wanted to rip it open. This one I would definitely keep sealed. They are so rare, and this is a beautiful example. Likely the finest that exists, certainly the finest that we've seen. And we've seen a lot of renewed interest and big numbers for non-sports cards, and that 66 Batman set is one of the premier in that category.
I bet you were waiting all day to say Holy Batman.
I've been waiting all month to say it, actually, since the first moment I saw that. Another thing we've seen a lot of in the last few months, and we have some great examples in this auction, is uncut sheets. And this one is remarkable. I'd never seen this before. 69 Topps basketball uncut sheet. It's the full set with all 99 cards. Topps had stopped making hoops cards after 57. 69 was the comeback year, and they came back in a big way with the Tall Boys. It's a very vibrant set, beautiful issue, and incredibly popular among basketball collectors. And what an amazing display piece this is. I had never seen one before. Tony, do you have one of these on your wall?
I've never seen one either. So Elcinder's on the bottom, kind of the bottom in the middle.
Yeah, bottom, fourth from the left.
Wow. I've never seen one of those. And those, of course, to find these in any kind of high grade is almost impossible. And centering is always an issue. And no, I've never seen an uncut sheet from that series.
We've signed a lot of great uncut sheets, especially vintage ones, coming out of the woodwork the last few months, and they've been producing great numbers. So excited to see some more. We've got some great ones in this sale. I know a lot of people haven't collected uncut sheets. They are larger, but when there's so many unique ones coming out, it's time to take a look at that empty wall in your office or your man cave or your living room and say, I think an uncut sheet would be perfect right there. And this one is just remarkable.
Yeah, and you've got Elcinder's rookie card too. I mean, my gosh, that sets it apart from everything else, basically.
There you go. And we've got some great hockey entries. Of course, we've got the Bossy collection, the OPG case, the Gretzky rookie. But we've got some great modern hockey cards as well, some great Connor McDavid ones. But I love this card here, the two Penguins legends. It's the 07 Upper Deck, the Cup, Sidney Crosby and Mario Lemieux. It's the dual NHL shields, which is the hockey version of the NBA logo man. And this is a 1-of-1 right here. You've got Crosby on one side and then Lemieux on the other side. The two legends there together. Just an awesome card. And I love cards like this where you have one star on one side and the other star on the other. You got a 1-of-1, and they're from two different eras, and you can see the shield change. Went from the silver or from the orange to the silver, and you can see that right here on this card. So if you're into hockey cards, take a look at the auction. We've got some great examples in there.
I mean, that one is the Penguins card to own. My goodness. I mean, you're covering 40 years of hockey greatness right there. And if there's one Penguin card you'd want.
One, I'd never seen it before. That one really jumped out at me when I saw it cross my desk. Tony, do we have any football cards in the auction?
Yeah, one though that really stood out to me was we've got a Walter Payton rookie card, but it's a SGC gold label 10. We all know how hard it is to get that coveted gold label, and this one here is perfect in every way. It sat in a collection for decades on end, and it achieved the ultimate grade. It is just something about that gold label that just sets it apart from almost all the others. I think there's only 2 or 3. I think there's only like 3 in existence in the hobby, and this is one of them. And if you want a nice Peyton card, I mean, that is the card to have for him and for any Bear fan or football fan in general. Just an absolutely perfect specimen.
Yeah, and we see a number of his rookie cards, but they are tough to get in high grade, and that is the absolute summit of the grading service right there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, you can get a 98, but to get that 10, to get that grade is it's so difficult because it has to be perfect. And centering on these, we always talk about 70s cards and centering, and just the smallest imperfection would downgrade it. Well, this one is absolutely stunning in every way.
Beautiful card.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, as we always do, it's time to talk fine art. Are you ready?
Of course, I was waiting for this.
Our specialty. You may notice this beauty, this masterpiece is right behind me. It is a 9-foot by 8-foot Leroy Neiman original painting. The biggest we've ever seen, quite possibly the biggest he ever did. I mean, it is just massive. And it is full of hoops luminaries. Right in the middle there, you've got Wilt dunking on Kareem and Dr. J, and then more stars along the bottom. Here's the interesting part. So in the bottom left corner, you've got Bill Russell in uniform. This was made in 1977. He was coaching Seattle at the time, but why not throw him in there? I mean, it's Bill Russell. You got Willis Reed, Oscar Robertson in the Royals uniform there. You've got McGinnis, McAdoo, Meadowlark Lemon in here as well. And then, he loved the Knicks and Frazier, and so he's going to put Walt Frazier there in the bottom right corner. This was used for the 1977 NBA All-Star Game program. Tony, do you know where that All-Star Game was played?
That was in Milwaukee, and I know the Bucks wore a patch that year on their shorts.
That's right.
But this is something you almost need to see it, because when I first saw it in our gallery, it just draws attention to it. It's so beautiful. It's classic Neiman, and the size of this piece is just unbelievable.
Yeah, and his bold style is never more apparent than on something this large. We've been very lucky at Heritage to sell quite a few Neiman originals, and this is the most impressive one I've ever seen. Just a stunning piece, speaking of display pieces. But we have another original Leroy Neiman in the auction as well. This one called Mr. 400. Who do you think it's a painting of, Tony?
It better be Ted Williams.
There it is. And what's interesting about this is our consignor commissioned this, and he spent 3 years corresponding with Leroy Neiman to get it painted. And all that correspondence, this was long ago before email, so it was all typed and handwritten letters. So we have all of that as well. And he's a huge Ted Williams fan, as you might imagine. So Leroy Neiman painted it. Leroy Neiman signed the back. And then Ted Williams came to our consignor's house. You can see him right there. That's Ted Williams with our consignor viewing the painting. He wanted to see it, and he signed it on the back as well and said to one of my biggest fans, our consignor said they had some Jack Daniels and talked about baseball and artwork. Very cool story and an amazing piece. And I love the pose as well. It's very reminiscent of Ted Williams' rookie card. So that's very cool. I have no doubt that Leroy Neiman used that for some inspiration.
Yeah, and I mean, you have his full swing there too. He's of course has the bat in hand, which he better if you're doing Ted Williams. But it's a gorgeous Neiman, and I mean, again, it's it's a larger version of it too. So I mean, that's another really cool point on that piece.
Speaking of art, Tony, let's talk about some photographs.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some really interesting signed photos from some of the Yankee greats to Bump Hadley, who was a ball player in the 30s and the 20s and 30s. And there's two that really stood out to me. There's a Lou Gehrig one. which is the one right here. But it's just a classic pose of Gehrig, written to one of his teammates, Bump Hadley, and also we have a Babe Ruth one too, again with a great salutation there. That's the one here. I mean, again, he's in the dugout with his baseball bat. He has a great autograph here, and just where he signed it to, he signed it right in the middle. You can, it's a really cool, and it's an original photo as well. So just unbelievable Type 1 photo signed by Ruth to Hadley, which is really cool. And there's some other photos also from that same collection, from Hadley's collection. So some really, really neat Type 1 signed photos, but you don't find all that often.
Yeah, with that nice backstory of sending it to another player, and it's got signed to them. Those are very cool. Yeah. We have a bonanza of great Type 1 photos in this auction, including some really exciting examples of Michael Jordan. Heard of him? Is this the first time we've mentioned Michael Jordan on the show, Tony?
We haven't done much Jordan yet, and we're usually pretty heavy on Jordan. So
we're going to get to
this better be a good one.
But yeah, this is a rookie photograph. Type 1 Jordan, one of the most photographed athletes of all time. We have some really cool ones in the auction, but this one is my favorite. Just a great aerial pose of him laying it in. Looks like he might go to the finger roll, which I love. But a great pose, a great image of Jordan, and one I'd never seen before. And that's always very attractive to photo collectors. If it's an image that, you either want the image that is super well known, like the Babe Ruth farewell or the Lou Gehrig Day, or one that was used for a card, or one that you've never seen before. And that's what this is right here. I'd never seen it before.
And he's got the Air Jordan 1s on, doesn't he, in this photo?
That's correct.
Yeah. I mean, it's an artistic look. Very artistic look.
Now, Tony, do you have a rarer photo than that you can talk about?
This one I thought was really cool. I didn't know we had this one. Lou Alcindor, his first game photo. Of course, he was photographed a lot at Power High School, and he was also, of course, with the Bruins. But this one's from his NBA debut, and I have never seen this one before. And I thought it was an interesting photo. Of course, he was Lou Alcindor back then, but he's going to his Skyhook, a very early version of his Skyhook. And, we've seen Type 1 photos just grow and grow and grow. This one here, is from his first game, and I think that's what makes it really stand out.
Yeah, I love that one. And debut game and the Skyhook. What more?
Yeah, exactly. The early Skyhook.
And you've got a hockey photo and award, too, that I believe never surfaced in the industry before.
Yeah, this one, when Henry Yee sent it back to us, he put a Post-it saying it was the first time he's ever seen this image. And he said it was one of the nicest that he has seen from Bobby Hall. Of course, when Bobby Hall, this is his first hockey championship award, is the plaque which is offered. But then there was also a photograph from the team. And interestingly, Ora's featured, but also Walter Gretzky is also featured on this Pee Wee team, or Bantam team, I believe. But
Junior B.
Cool. What's that?
Junior B.
Junior B. I'm sorry.
The mid-level minor leagues for hockey in Canada.
So this was obtained from Hall by our consignor years ago, and it's his earliest hockey trophy. But also in this one here, the photo also really makes it stand out quite a bit. It's Type 1. It's got, Bobby Hall, early Bobby Hall, along with the great one's father when he was a kid. So I thought that one really was an interesting piece, especially for hockey fans. I mean, that's a really unique listing there.
I mean, it's got to be the earliest whole photo.
I think it is.
Hockey photo. Love that piece. And if you want to talk old, Tony, let's go back, way back. 1888, the infancy of our national pastime. This is a poster from Albert Spalding's World Tour. Amazing piece here. The only other example of this poster known is in Cooperstown. So you're not getting your hands on that one ever. This one is going to find a new home tonight, but it's all the luminaries from a Chicago All-Star team, which they started in Chicago. They went to San Francisco, then they went to Australia, then Egypt, Italy, France, England, and Ireland, spreading baseball around the world, one of the earliest tours. And this is a beautiful piece. The colors really are bold and pop on it. Another item that if you have that on display, when people see it, they're going to need to know the story behind it immediately.
There's a lot of Hall of Famers in there too, and that's the thing that really makes it stand out. And you got early baseball, early Hall of Famers, and this stuff is incredibly rare. And again, you have to see it in person. It really jumps out when you can see it. And some early baseball scenes, and just a remarkable piece.
And there's the ship they took right there in the bottom right.
Sure. Yep.
I love that they included that on the poster.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we all hear about the tour of Japan and everything. I didn't know there was one that early. I had no idea that there even was one.
Yeah,
and,
46 years earlier than the tour of Japan.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. This was the first tour.
There it is. And we're going to talk some gamers. We haven't talked gamers yet, Tony, and I'm going to start it off with this beauty, a 1912 Boston Red Sox coat. This is just one of the most beautiful items that has ever entered our offices. This was worn by Harry Hooper, and I love this style. Tony, there's been a lot of talk about MLB apparel coming up this season.
Yes, there has been. I want to go back to this. I think this is a much classier look than, unfortunately, the uniforms of today.
We encourage Nike and Fanatics to bring this style back. Can you imagine how many they would sell of this if the players were wearing these? Great picture of the 1912 Red Sox wearing these coats right there. And Harry Hooper, amazing player. And in fact, in that 1912 World Series, he had one of the finest catches in fall classic history. So a great item. You can see in the chain embroidery of his name in the back of the collar there. I mean, just a stunning piece, and obviously incredibly rare. It's in good condition. There are some moth holes. And do you know why, Tony? Mothballs had not been invented yet. So what were they supposed to do? That's how old this is.
I just love it in so many ways. It's got the B for Boston. It's got all the buttons still there. The collar, the sleeve ends. It's got so many cool pieces. I mean, so many cool parts to it. And his name being in there, Hall of Famer Harry Hooper. Such an early piece of baseball history. It's just remarkable. You and I were talking about this last week, I think it was. We were in at the
New York preview.
And this one is just there's so many just cool attributes to it, and just the quality of what they made that with back then. And
I'm offering this to the winning bidder. This needs to be displayed on a mannequin. So to the winning bidder, if you do not have one, we will send you one of ours, because this needs to
all
be.
Right.
I do not want this shoved away in somebody's closet or a safety deposit box. This needs to be on display, and we will assist in that regard. All right,
I'm pretty sure it's going to be. I would hope.
You're our gamer expert. Let's get started. Let's rev it up. What do we got?
All right. So, of course, through all the sports, we have a lot of quality game-worn jerseys. One of them that really caught my eye was the 1961 Ernie Davis Game U Syracuse jersey. Actually, it was obtained after the November 4th game against Pitt. Heisman Trophy season, shows decent wear, but there's the whole story behind it. It was obtained after the game by the original owner of this piece. He was a kid who also got a game ball, and there's a photo including here online of the kid getting the game ball from Ernie Davis. Just a beautiful, beautiful style with the crotch piece and all the buttons firmly intact on it. Ernie Davis is kind of a tragic figure in football history. Of course, drafted. He wins the Heisman, drafted, and then he passes away. What could have been? That's one of the things. An athlete dying young is one of the most tragic things Ernie Davis, who knows how good he would have been in the NFL. He probably would have been a Hall of Famer, kind of following Jim Brown. He was kind of the next guy. Could you imagine if they would have been on the same team, how good they could have been? I mean, my goodness. But it's a really cool jersey, good condition. There's no holes or tears. It does show decent use. So, but it was gifted after a game. So a lot of times, it's hard to find out the story on a jersey. Well, this one's got a great story to it. And for football fans, Heisman Trophy winners, kind of everybody, it's kind of a really, really cool uniform from kind of a tragic figure.
That's an amazing piece right there.
Yeah, and another amazing
game.
Yes. And like I said, it does show decent wear to it. So it's provenance, it's wear, it's Ernie Davis, it's Heisman. You've kind of got a lot of sources or a lot of things that really make it stand out. And after that, we've got a 1971 Johnny Unitas game used photo match to 4-game jersey, which it's so incredibly difficult, especially in the 60s and 70s, to photo match uniforms. It's a really tricky thing. Well, this has been photo matched to 4 games, and also it's from his last postseason victory. So shows good use, photo match by Davies and Sports Investors. So you've got 2 photo match companies that have signed off on this. It's got a nice autograph on the back, and it's got the dual sand knit tags in it. The nicest Unitas I've seen in a long, long time. I can't recall another one that can match this. We sell them from time to time, but this one being photo match sets it to a whole different level, in my opinion.
That's an amazing piece. I mean, when that came in and I heard Unitas photo match jersey,
I know
that's ringing bells.
And following that, we have a 1985-86 Kareem Abdul-Jabbar game used Lakers jersey photo match to, it's either has a photo match or an apparent photo match to 12 games. I remember seeing this jersey for the first time probably about 7 months ago. And the first time I saw it, I told the consignor, I said, this is one of the nicest jerseys I've seen of his. We've sold some Bucks ones. I think we'd sold for $650,000. We sold the rookie photo match to the finals. Well, this one here is the nicest that I've seen as far as it's the nicest that I've seen that is photo matched. Great use. It's photo matched to 12 games, but I can promise you he wore it for longer than that, just given the use on this. Photo matched by 2 companies. We've got Resolution and Sports Investors on this. And also,
this is the part I like.
This is the part I know you're going to like. It's photo match to Ask Max from the Magical World of Disney from November 2nd of 1986. Of course, Chunk from, the Goonies, right?
That's correct. There he is right there. He was the star of Ask Max, and it had guest stars on, and Kareem was on there, and he wore this jersey for that. We're combining legendary athletes, legendary actors, and Disney right here. How can you not love that?
And this one is also photo matched to the Western Conference semifinals and the Western Conference finals against the Rockets. So I think there's an image of Ralph Sampson or Hakeem against Abdul-Jabbar. So it's photo matched up and down. And anytime you have a photo match jersey, it's cause for celebration. But this one here is the best Lakers that I've seen of Kareem.
Yeah, awesome piece. All right, Tony, I'm going to give you one more. What do you
All
got?
right, this one is just such a gorgeous looking uniform. I saw this one when there's his jerseys, but this one here is the nicest Cavaliers version I've seen. It kind of harkens back to the 70s. It's a throwback with those crazy sides and the sleeve striping and the collar striping. It's funky, but it's early Cavs. Goes back to the early days. It also has photo matched to Kobe Bryant's last game in Cleveland, making it a really special jersey. But this one here is a style one. I just love this style. It's so unique. It's so collectible. Yes, he's with the Lakers now, but he won their first championship, and he's always going to be a favorite son there in Cleveland.
Awesome style.
Love it.
I'd say the Cavs have struggled to hit on some good styles, but this one...
that one is one of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, indeed. And while we're talking LeBron, we've had some great results for LeBron game-worn sneakers, and excited to see what these do. These are LeBron rookie sneakers, and they are photo-matched games in the NBA, which is unreal. There's also a possible match in that same time frame, but as we start to get towards the end of LeBron's career, who knows when it's going to end? I think he's going to have at least another season. He's still an all-star, still playing great, but these items from his first season when he broke on the scene are just very special and rare, and to have the photo match to 3 games, 3 definitive matches, that is an amazing pair right there.
I was shocked. I was shocked when I saw that they photo matched to that many games, because LeBron was a big deal in high school, of course, being on the cover of Sports Illustrated. You would assume he would wear 1 pair a game as a rookie. He was a huge deal, and that he wore a pair for that long is really, really surprising to me. And I mean, I was floored when I saw that it was 4 games.
And an interesting aspect, because when he was in high school, he's probably wearing the same pair for multiple games. Of course, he's not in the NBA, and then he just jumps right to the NBA, and maybe he was comfortable in them and said, "Hey, I'm going to stick with these."
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at him, it's got great wear to him, and it's it's his rookie shoes. It's the first LeBron style shoe, and I was really, because I know we sold the 1 pair from a second game for like $230,000. Well, this is actually one for more games, and just an incredible pair of shoes from the King.
There it is. All right, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back and get some more insight, information, and knowledge from Mr. Joe Orlando after the break.
Up until now, we weren't exactly sure one of these existed.
You'll hear rumors that a collector has cited one, but you'll never see a picture.
And this was just recently discovered and found out exactly what was in it.
It's like a unicorn in the hobby. It's a mythical creature. It just doesn't exist.
We are leaving Chicago and heading to Northwest Indiana.
Finds like this don't happen. It's once in a generation thing.
This is absolutely unbelievable. This is probably the holy grail of any sport, 70 on up.
Hello.
The company here is Baseball Card Exchange. I'm the owner, Steve Hart. In my 34th year of basically doing this every day of my life. Wow. Looks like it was shipped from OPG yesterday. I always thought to myself, if we ever were going to find a case of this, that it would probably be buried somewhere up deep in Canada, and the owners probably didn't even know they had it.
Well, that's exactly right. So what happened was, this was a set collector, someone who collects not boxes, not singles, but sets. My name is Jason Simons. I am the New York City consignment director for our sports department. I help consigners and collectors figure out what they have and ultimately bring it to market. It was negative 40 degrees when we went there, and it was literally boxes and boxes and boxes of material, and ultimately at the bottom of those boxes, all the way in the back, was a 1979 OPG wax case.
The family, since they've had this for 40-some years, always assumed this was a 1980 case of hockey. Now, that's not so bad, $350,000. Until one day, someone finally asked them, you might want to check and see what's exactly in there. So they pulled back about an inch, and to their surprise, these are all white boxes. That's when they realized this was 79.80. This went from $350,000 to pushing $3 million.
The case says 1980 on it. It's because the season straddled 2 years. It went 1979 into 1980, and something that OPG did which is the manufacturer, is they would put the second year, the year that the finals would take place, on the cases.
Peachy was always glued flaps, top and bottom. And I see nothing wrong with this case at all. It's unbelievable the shape it's in. We're going to go in through the bottom and take a look at the 16 boxes that are in it. Looks like it was kept in a very good environment. Okay, another thing we check for when we do these cases is always trying to see if there's a second set of glue that anybody has applied to the case. This one's flawless. Cool. And as fresh as they come. These are the whitest boxes. I don't think I've ever seen a display box this clean. So we have a total of what looks like 13 boxes, still with the tape intact. 3 where it has just barely popped from being brittle. My guess would be 2.5, pushing 3 million for the value of the case.
So this case has 16 full boxes. The last time Heritage had sold a box, we sold it for $210,000. Since then, those boxes are averaging around $150,000 to $200,000. So if you're doing the math in your head, it should end somewhere between $2.5 and $3 million.
We're going to wrap each box individually, label it as from a sealed case, then put all 16 back in the case, and wrap the case as one big item. Any business or hobby where there's a lot of money, there's a lot of problems, and we try to, weed out all the stuff that's resealed garbage and tampered with.
This is the first time and possibly the last time that one of these cases will ever show up in its original form in the open market.
There it is, the full story, my experience at Baseball Card Exchange. Very excited to see all that go down. Tony, what's the bid at on the OPG case right now?
It was just over $2 million when I saw. Let's take a look.
Yeah.
I can promise you that the consignor is very happy right now. We've had correspondence throughout the day, so they're very encouraged by the bidding, and I think there's still going to be some more left. 2.1 million, so right over 2.5 with the buyer's premium. So, and there's the one thing on this one. There's 762 people tracking it.
I hope they're all bidding.
Yeah, we're going to be here all night then, I think, which is fine by me. We'll stay as long as it takes. But no, I mean, I have to say, that is such a cool video to see it from start to finish, the whole progress, the journey that it made, how it gets authenticated. That is really, really well done to kind of show viewers how it all works, kind of behind the scenes a little bit on that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So speaking of a lot of fun, without further ado, let's bring back on the man, the myth, the legend, Orlando. Joe, still just lounging. I love it.
Right. I'm just laying back here, smoking cigars, sipping my Cavassier.
Oh, you got Cavassier in there?
What?
Yeah.
Where's that at?
Heritage is a wonderful place. Let me just tell you.
Very true.
I got to say this real quick before we jump into some things. I've watched that video like maybe 1 million times, and you guys did such a wonderful job with it. So,
shout out to Tommy, who did all the magic and put me in as little as possible.
No, it really is spectacular.
All right, Joe, we've got 20 minutes to look.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of punch and get out here. I'll do a few of them and then get back to the action. But if we could pull up kind of the assortment of 1952 Topps baseball cards that we had communicated about earlier, that would be great.
Another great collection.
Yeah, so we were able to get a 1952 Topps collection that was largely graded PSA 8. There were a couple of exceptions. The number 1 Pafko was a 7. It was missing a few cards, including Jackie Robinson, Mantle, and Matthews. But the balance of the set have been graded PSA 8. Now, not all of the cards are in this platinum auction. There are a couple of hundred of them. We're going to auction some more in March and in May. So we'll kind of close it out through the spring. But it really is a terrific opportunity for set builders to acquire some high quality cards. And I can tell you, when you talk to set collectors, especially at the National Convention every year, the one complaint they have as time goes on is it becomes very, very difficult to find high grade commons. It's just those things are drying up, especially on iconic sets like 1952 Topps. So it becomes a real challenge to start building these sets. And in some cases, the entire, the sets are sold as a whole. Here we had the opportunity to break it down lot by lot. So whether you're at the beginning stages of building a 52 Topps set, you're trying to upgrade, you're looking to fill a few slots, it really is a really unique opportunity. And people can tell by the early activity on a lot of these lots, there's been a tremendous amount of interest.
Yeah, beautiful example. We see a lot of 52 Topps, but it's always cool when you get a big collection like this and some really beautiful examples.
Yeah, there's a few of them going off tonight. The first card that we showed was the 1952 Topps Willie Mays, which, by the way, over the past 20, 30 minutes has received a bunch of activity. And there's a few other stars. Most of the cards are going to be sold in session 2, but it is really just an outstanding group. And again, anyone who builds vintage sets, knows what I'm talking about here. It just becomes challenging. Like, where do you find individual high grade commons, again, especially from an iconic set like 52 Topps? And when they come like this, when you look at that card right there, they're just beautiful. I mean, one of the marketing strategies that Topps employed in 52, after having kind of doing some test runs in 51 with some smaller issues, is they went to a much larger format to compete with Bowman. And you could see, I mean, it really pays off, because just that larger format, when you have that, like the beautiful, backgrounds and they're fresh looking, it just makes these cards pop in a way that the smaller issues can't. I mean, because they're large cards, and on all the, the unopened boxes, the packaging, they kept repeating, giants, giant, in terms of the size of the cards, because they wanted to really emphasize and push that, hey, they made a bigger and better product. And obviously today we're talking about the most iconic post-war card set of any sport in the hobby.
Yeah, no question. And so many people putting together 52 Topps sets. So a reason for them to get excited with this collection.
Yeah, so if we can move over to the 1959 Topps football assortment, that would be terrific. So, we've talked, obviously, tonight there's some pretty impressive unopened boxes and cases and packs in the auction. And every once in a while, someone has the courage to actually open up a vintage box, whether it's, rack, wax, cello, you name it, or vending. There was a small find of 1959 Topps football vending roughly a year or so ago. And our consignor was one of those brave enough to open the boxes and to pull out the cards and have them graded. And wow. You can see every single card in the auction that we have here is from that vending find. They were pulled, and when you blow up this card, I mean, first of all, it has that, the bubblegum background that just like really leaps out at you. But the 1959 Topps football set, what's so cool about the design is that they're so colorful, and there's such a variety of background colors in the set. But when they look like this, when you go through the yellows and the blues and the greens and kind of this pink bubblegum color, they just jump, out of the holder with their eye appeal. And so this is one of those, I would say, rare instances where someone who busted open some vintage stuff is rewarded handsomely because so many of the cards were well centered, fresh, and in great condition. Of course, in vending, as we've talked about in some of the guides that we've written and some of the articles we've written for Heritage, it's really feast or famine generally with vending. If you open a vending box, whether it's 1975 Topps baseball or 1959 Topps football, generally if you pull out a few cards and the centering looks a certain way, let's say all the cards are 70-30 at the beginning, usually that means that the rest of the box is going to follow suit in terms of the appearance, or if there's certain types of print defects, that sort of thing. So this was a really, really great story, and it's great because these cards, in a sense, they're sort of a time capsule. They went straight from the vending box to PSA, to Heritage, and now to some new owners at the end of this. And you could see, look at the price realized on this card already. And we're still not to session 2 where this will close, but the interest in some of these gems has been tremendous. We have almost, I think it read around 24 individual lots that are all PSA 10. There's also one large lot of PSA 9s that has received a lot of attention, where it really gives someone an opportunity to get a foundation going in building the set. But these look, and they are like they were made yesterday because they were preserved in these vending boxes for decades. So again, a great opportunity for people looking to build sets, upgrade sets. The cards are just fantastic looking.
Can you imagine the excitement when they open something like that and to see the quality that they had unearthed?
Yeah, it's a pure roll of the dice with this stuff. And again, look, you can see, they're just gorgeous cards. The centering, the colors, and because they were kept in these boxes for so long, it's that freshness that we kind of talked about a little bit with that 63 Aaron earlier. Sometimes it's hard to articulate what that is, but there is a pop that cards have when they have that extra fresh, extra colorful look. And these cards have them throughout. And again, I would encourage collectors to kind of take a look at the individual lots. And if they're really interested in beginning a set, take a look at that PSA 9 lot because it gets you a great start for anyone who's looking to build the set from scratch.
Yes, and I'd like to invite all Heritage clients, if you're going to break open some vintage stuff like that, just let us know, send us an invite. Me and Tony and Joe bring the beer. We just want to be there when that happens.
Let us open up some of it.
Yeah,
maybe open up one pack.
Yeah, we just want to be a fly on the wall. It's so exciting.
Exactly. Tony will bring the snacks, I'll bring the beer, and Joe will bring the knowledge.
There we go.
Or the cigar.
What a combination.
So I'm going to veer off in a completely different direction here. If we could pull up the WrestleMania 1 ticket stub.
Oh, Tony just started.
There we go. Hey.
Yeah, this
I want to talk about WrestleMania. That's making my night.
Yeah, I pulled this up. I was thinking about it, and wrestling, it kind of, it's a bridge between, sports and entertainment. And I started to think about it. Look, I grew up, during the 70s and 80s, and just how quickly wrestling started to take off during this era. And this is like, some people say, it's like the golden era, the guys like, Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant and Ric Flair, Rowdy Roddy Piper, all these great names from the past. And this is the first WrestleMania. So I start thinking to myself, how many people had the foresight or even bothered to keep their ticket stub from the first WrestleMania? And what I like about this stub, and we've talked about this on the program before as it relates to any kind of ticket, sometimes ticket stubs have a hard time in the eye appeal department. This one, again, it is technically, quote unquote, only graded a 2. But it's actually a very attractive, eye-appealing ticket stub. It looks really good. You can see, where the stub was torn, you could still read the rest, the portion of WrestleMania, the Madison Square Garden on the top portion of the ticket. It's a very clean 2, if that makes sense, and it still retains a level of eye appeal that some tickets have a hard time with when you start getting into those lower grades. So it's hard again for I guess all of us on the program tonight. We all kind of grew up in a similar era, and for people that weren't there, wrestling just shot like a rocket ship. I mean, it just took off, and this was the first of the most major event that they put on annually, and so it's such a great piece of nostalgia for collectors.
Yeah, amazing item. And wrestling collectors are so devoted, and that material is really getting a chance to shine lately. We've seen some really remarkable wrestling pieces come out recently, and included in this one. Tony, how many WrestleManias have you been to personally?
I've been to 2. They were both in Dallas.
Did you save your tickets?
They didn't have tickets. Learned a valuable lesson. Do not sit on the floor, though. I was on the floor level, and everybody's. You cannot see very well on the floor. Get the right. Learn the hard way.
That feels like a shot at Jerry Jones. Just saying. Don't kick a man when he's down, Tony.
Yeah, exactly. No. I've been to 2, and it's such a spectacle. Really, truly. WrestleMania 1 with Mr. T and Liberace, Billy Martin, all those guys. It was just
Liberace wrestled?
My time a little bit, though. I don't remember WrestleMania 1.
Wait, did Liberace wrestle at that one?
No, but he's from Wisconsin, though. I will tell you that. Some useless knowledge there.
Indeed.
Well, I'm going to get back to the action if that's okay out here, but I appreciate you guys having me on as always. It's always a lot of fun, and the activity's starting to really heat up as we close in on the extended bid.
Yeah, thank you for your time,
Thanks,
Joe, and go share that knowledge with our clients.
All right, take care, guys.
Tony, we've got some amazing championship rings.
We do.
One of my favorites here is the 2021 Los Angeles Rams from Super Bowl LBI. Really unique ring. It was in their home stadium at SoFi. Beautiful stadium. I was there just last year. And the ring is a replica of the stadium. Of course, it's got the palm trees and the Lombardi trophy and the Rams logo on the face. The sides are a replica of the stadium, which is really incredible open air on all the concourses there because the weather's always perfect. But what's really amazing about it is that the top twists off and the replica of the stadium continues inside. You can see that inside it has the inside of the stadium on the bottom part of the ring, and the top has a replica of the incredible circular, gigantic scoreboard that they have in the stadium. Just a really clever and really unique Super Bowl ring.
It's one of the most beautiful rings I've seen, and that's such a unique feature that you can see the inside of the stadium and you can open it up. I mean, Super Bowl rings, they try to top each other every year, and this one here, when I saw it for the first time with the yellow in there, it's just such a beautiful, and the palm trees, and then you've got the blue. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous ring. And I mean, I put it up with any of the Super Bowl rings I've ever seen as far as beauty wise. It's gorgeous.
What ring has caught your eyes, Tony?
In this auction, well, let's take a look here. I mean, we've got the 2017 Houston Astros ring. To me, is again just a gorgeous ring. You've got 3 colors. I mean, you've got the orange, you've got the blue, and then you've got all the diamonds, of course, filling it in. It's their first World Series title, of course. Sports Illustrated predicted it 3 years before. Yeah. But you got the skyline of Houston. It's a simple look, but it's a really great look. And again, I like the ones that have multiple colors in them. And that one, because of the orange and the blue, just like the Rams ring, that one's got the yellow and the blue. This one here, it's for a Houston Astros fan. It's their first World Series ring, and the first one's always probably the most coveted one.
Did they not put the trash can on the...
I wasn't even going to go there, and I wasn't even going to mention it.
As we sit just a few miles from Rangers Stadium in Arback.
Yeah, I kind of wasn't going to go there on that one. But you know what, though? You mentioned the Rangers. It's going to be cool to see their first World Series ring because I'm sure they're going to pull out all the stops on it and make it an absolutely stunning ring. And I always like seeing every year opening day to see the rings and how they look and what they're, kind of doing with rings now. So, yeah, it'll be cool to see the Rangers' first World Series ring.
But I will give it to the Astros on that ring design there. They kept it simple and classy. Yeah. It didn't go overboard. Sometimes, these days the rings are so big, you've got a lot of real estate, and they try and jam a bunch of different things in there. They kept it very simple. It's a cool look.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
So we've got a lot of Bulls rings in the auction.
Yes, we do.
We have a full run of all 6 Bulls championship rings. And then in addition to that, we have this one. This is the 1992 Chicago Bulls NBA championship ring. And this one was presented to announcer Johnny Red Kerr. A great piece. With rings, a lot of the value comes from who was it awarded to, player rings being the most valuable. But the voice of the Bulls here, and what I love about it is Jordan used to always do the chalk antics with Johnny Kerr before the game. Jordan would put the chalk on his hands, go right over to the radio booth and on the sideline and clap the chalk in their face. And they had a little game going on where one time Johnny Kerr was wearing a gas mask. One time he had an umbrella. So obviously he had a very close relationship with Jordan. And this is the championship ring he was awarded. And it's in a handsome box as well. Did Tony just run off on me again? Was more food delivered? Is that what just happened? But yeah, if you're interested in Bulls rings, the last few auctions, we've been very lucky to have some Bulls three-peat rings. And in this auction from another staff member, we have the complete run of all 6 Bulls rings. That's going to be closing tomorrow night. And now, Tommy, we're just going to skip right over Tony's, what he was going to talk about, and I'm just going to keep going here. When this item was delivered, we got a lot of large items in the auction. First of all, this painting that we talked about earlier behind me. But then we have this 1962 Safe at Home poster, which we do see from time to time, but rarely the 3-sheet version, which this is. And it is huge. 81 by 27 is the 3-sheet dimension. The movie came out in 1962, so right after 1961 with their home run chase. I would say that the movie is interesting. It probably deservedly did not need to be included in the 1962 Academy Awards, but very interesting to see the two of them performing. And this is a really popular poster for collectors, and it doesn't get any bigger than this, literally.
No, I saw that here, and when I mean, you can't miss it here. I will say that. But Mantle, Maris, early '60s, M&M Boys. You're right. It wasn't going to win any awards, but that being said, featuring them on it, and it's a cool.
Do you know what won Best Picture in 1962? Oh, he just disappears as soon as we said that. All right. Well, while we're talking about Roger Maris, some great Maris material in the auction, and this one is so cool. I'm a big
Sorry
fan.
about that. I hit refresh and I hit it on the wrong screen, so I go away and then I wasn't dodging your question. I promise. 1961. I'll say singing in the rain. I don't know.
Nice guess. It was 62. Lawrence of Arabia.
I was thinking West Side Story, but I think West Side Story would have been a little after that.
That's early. All right, this one here, I love the George Sosnak balls, where he does the artwork on the ball. And this one is a Roger Maris example, which I'd never seen the Maris one before. It's amazing the detail he can pack in there. Tony, do you think you can do this kind of artwork? And
no. I did just write up one from the 1969 Florida baseball dinner or something. I just wrote it up a couple days ago. These are a work of art. I don't know how the heck this guy did it. They're just, it tells a story. It's got painted versions of Mantle and all this. I mean, it's just how he did that with such a steady hand. I just don't know. I mean, but yeah, they are really beautiful and they're well collected as well. Those Sosnick.
The artwork is impressive, but just as impressive is the panels where he puts the text, how he gets it so straight and so neat.
Yes.
Do not get it. I mean, that is a masterpiece. And this one's signed by Maris as well. So very cool piece. Now, Tony, you had some bats you wanted to.
Yeah, we'll go over some of the bats real quick, and then we can talk about some of the bids coming in. But, this one just got hit not that long ago, 1974-75 Hank Aaron, game used, PSA game used 10 bat. Not a lot of high-quality Aaron bats out there. There's just not too many of them. And this one here, because of the grade as well, great use. We've seen Mays bats go up. Of course, Aaron is in the same category. His bats have gone up quite a bit too. I think people are realizing some of these great sluggers, and anytime now that you can get a game use 10 grade, it's just gonna make your bat collection that much nicer.
And you got to have Aaron in your.
Yeah, he's the one you have to have. It's Aaron, it's Mays, and then now with DiMaggio, Clemente. I mean, we've got some really, really quality bats. Joe talked about the 97 Griffey Jr. bat from his MVP season previously here. And just like he said, I mean, just an amazing bat. I love the wrapping, the zigzag taping on the handle and everything like that. 2005 Ichiro hit number 996 bat. We talked about it. I think I talked about it in the little thing that we filmed. Ichiro, photo matched. Our whole industry has gone towards photo matching bats. It's pretty tricky, pretty tough to do. This one here, to a specific hip, photo matched. Ichiro, I think the market for Ichiro is going to be pretty strong for a long time because he was just next level and wasn't a rookie until he was 27 years old. And to do what he did, I don't think could be accomplished again.
Yeah, agreed. And that's an awesome example.
Yeah, it is. And this one I just thought was a really cool. An Ohtani first home run from the Nippon League when he was in the Japanese League. And, Shohei has moved the radar for quite a while now. He's going to be batting this year, not pitching, but I'm sure he'll be back pitching, hopefully not this year, but next year. Again, we have a photo match bat. And it just, especially from earlier on in his career, we've had some great sales for Ohtani bats, and this one here is a little more unique. And again, whenever you can add the word photo match to a bat, it just gives it a different layer of collectability. And this one here has got everything: high grade, photo match, good, really good solid use too. So a nice Ohtani bat, and now that he has a new home in Los Angeles, not that far from Anaheim.
Do you think he
World Series, that could just take his collectibles and drive him to the next level. So it'll be interesting to see how he does there.
And I love the early pieces like that. Japanese League bat. That's very cool. If you're an Ohtani fan, material like that is going to be hard to come by as his career gets longer in the major leagues. More of his major league material will become available, but that short period where he was playing in Japan, that's going to be very sought after. So cool piece and photo match. So, Tony, let's take a look at the big board. What's happening?
Oh, there's a lot happening. There's a lot of bids. Everybody getting them in now. 76 Peyton, 62,500. Munson, game-used rookie-era catcher's mitt, 27,000. That was just recently unearthed. We were talking to the collector.
That's a great piece.
Yeah, it was. And, how things still get found, and that's a prime example right there. Mike Bossy material doing really well. Canada Cup jersey 9,000. That ends tomorrow. The Canada Cup, jersey 8,500. DiMaggio game used bat 87,500. Just a lot of bids. 1.5 million for the 52 Mantle PSA 8.5. Wayne Milner 60,000. A lot of six-figure bids more than I can remember. So it's just remarkable, and we're keep on going here. Keep on going. What do you see, Mike?
All right, so
Oh, you got the bid board. Oh, I'm just
so session 1, we are in extended bidding right now. Session 2 is tomorrow. You can keep bidding all night, all day tomorrow. Session 2 will hit extended bidding at 10 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. You can go to our recent bid screen board and see all the bids come in live tonight in extended bidding. Always exciting. So go out there, get what you need. A huge thank you to our consigners and our bidders. We couldn't do it without you guys, of course, and we all hope you have an incredible weekend in the auction. Whatever you're looking to win, go get it. A huge thank you to our team of dozens that puts on this show. It takes 5 people just to get Tony's computer to work correctly.
shit. We need more than that, I think.
We've got 5 caterers who make sure he gets exactly the nutritional needs he needs with dinner. And then, of course, 5 more to do his hair. So it's a big team that does all this, and we thank them for staying up late on Saturday night and talking sports. And, of course, thank you to everyone who's joined us tonight. If you have any questions or comments, please hit us up on our social media pages. I operate those, and I would love to talk to you this evening and tomorrow. Tony, how can the people get in touch with you?
TonyG@ha.com. 214-409-1997 is my number. Call me, talk the industry, talk about collectibles.
What show do you have coming up next, Tony? Where are you going to be?
Chicago's is the next one. Is the next show, and then maybe a consignment trip here and there. But Chicago, it's going to be really April. April's the busy month. We got Vancouver, Toronto. Well, there's another one in there somewhere. Montreal, and then Strongsville, Pittsburgh. There's a lot of shows in April and May, but that's a busy time, and we love doing it. We love going out and meeting consigners, clients, bidders, everyone, and it never gets old. And hopefully up in Canada, we'll get another case of the OPG.
Yeah, indeed. Hopefully not until after tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Good luck to everyone in the auction on both sides of the paddle. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be seeing you. Have a good evening.